Hello everyone, I'm Mrs. H. I am broadcasting to you from my home during the COVID-19 school closures, and I'm a credentialed English teacher with 10 years of experience in the classroom, and I'm trying to make content that is helpful for my current students because I miss them and I'm thinking about them, but also helpful for any student, anywhere, any teacher, or any parent who is looking for resources to assist 6th through 10th grade writing. Today in this video, I am going to be talking about body paragraphs. Body paragraphs are a really big lesson, and they are the meat of your essay. They are the thing that your reader is really going in to read because it's got all your evidence and your messaging and your analysis. And this lesson usually takes me 2 to 3 class periods to go over with a room of 7th or 8th graders. And so I strongly recommend not watching this entire video in one sitting. Break it up over a couple of days, especially if you're finding this whole remote learning, distance learning thing to be kind of a challenge and figuring stuff out. In the description and throughout the video, I have given you some suggested stopping points so that you could go and take a 15-minute break, do something else for an hour, or even just come back the next day and continue watching. In the description below, you will also find some links to downloadable resources that go with this video. And if you are looking for downloadable resources that go with other videos, that link will help you get there as well. Today's video, I will actually be building off of a previous video. This is my annotated Nothing Gold Can Stay from my How to Annotate Poetry video. And what I am doing in this video is using this as a brainstorm for the sample essay we're going to look at. And that's exactly what we're doing today. I'm not going to instruct you or really walk you through how to write a body paragraph. We are going to study a pre-written, well-written body paragraph so that you have a good idea of what one looks like, so that when you go to write one yourself, you've got kind of a model to compare to. I know that actually creating and writing is an important part of the writing learning process, but when I was younger and teachers would say, okay, write a topic sentence, and maybe I'd never seen one before or I didn't recognize them, it really wasn't helpful until we studied what one looks like. This is one of the reasons why students tend to be really great storytellers, is because they read and learn all kinds of great stories, but they might not be able to quite translate those writing skills into expository writing because students don't read a whole lot of expository writing, at least not for entertainment. So let me get to the lesson, and I will check back with you guys for my conclusion and some previews of what to expect next time. Body paragraphs. There's a couple of terms or styles of body paragraph that you guys will see out there, and they're pretty similar to each other. Jane Schaefer is one of the older ones that I hear a lot of my more seasoned colleagues using. Step Up to Writing is another one that I learned in another school district. I kind of just call these all stoplight paragraphs, and you'll see why at the end. And maybe other teachers use that term too. I don't know that it's a formal program, but I've noticed that this structure of body paragraph works really great in almost any expository writing situation. Persuasive writing, response to literature, science fair writing, this works really great. My aim here is to help 6th through 10th graders. If you're a 6th or 7th grader, some of this might be kind of new for you. If you are a 10th grader or older, this is probably more review and reinforcing some of the skills or revisiting some of the base skills that you had. And this is great to do just before you take the SAT. I'm going to be working with a paragraph that references a previous video, and I'll try to make sure I front load some info for you guys so the paragraph makes some sense. But if you haven't seen my Nothing Gold Can Stay How to Annotate Poetry video, I recommend watching that before watching this video, or if you watch a little further and things that I say in the paragraph don't make very much sense. So how to get the most out of this video before I actually get into content, I recommend watching on a larger screen such as a tablet or a computer. I will be working with a paragraph that fills the full page, and if you're watching this on a small phone screen, you won't be able to read the stuff that I wrote down and you won't really get much out of this video. Take breaks when you need to. I put in suggested break spots, but take more if you need to. This lesson usually takes me 2 to 3 days with a group of 7th and 8th graders, just reminding you guys. And so please don't try to watch it all in one day, unless of course you're an older student and this is review, or you're feeling very ambitious. And I mentioned earlier to watch my video on how to annotate poetry, because that is the brainstorm for the paragraph we will study, and you'll understand this paragraph even more deeply if you have seen the brainstorm and you are aware of my writing process. Okay, so in general, what is a body paragraph? We talked about introductions the other day, or the other week when I posted my last video. Body paragraphs are the meat of your essay. This is where you present your evidence, you analyze your evidence, and you really prove your thesis statement to be true. And this is, I'm not going to read this whole essay. This is a persuasive essay on playing violent video games. And what I've done for you is just highlight body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2. The 2 paragraphs that are not highlighted for you guys is the introduction and the conclusion. To download this full essay, if you want to read it and just have a sample essay that you could look to, see my video description. I have a link to my file site down there. So real quick, I'm going to show you guys this great poem because you'll better understand the paragraph if you know the poem. It's very short. Nothing Gold Can Stay by Robert Frost. Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold. Her early leaf's a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf. So Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down to day. Nothing gold can stay. The picture on this side of the screen is the brainstorm I did in a previous video, and this brainstorm made writing the paragraph I'm about to show you way easy. So here I've got a paragraph, and if you're watching on a small screen, you probably can't see it, so either listen carefully or switch to a bigger screen. I just wrote a body paragraph in response to what is the theme of Robert Frost's Nothing Gold Can Stay. This is a response to lit paragraph, and to download a sample of this paragraph, I also have it on my file site. I'll read the paragraph to you guys, and then we'll talk about what's in it. It's not the most perfect paragraph, but it's high enough quality that it could be used for this lesson. I'm starting right here. The theme of Robert Frost's Nothing Gold Can Stay is that innocence does not last forever. The first 2 lines of this poem use colors to symbolize the loss of innocence. Quote, nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold, end quote, in text citation Frost. Gold is the title color of the poem, and when we think about gold, we think about the fragile, moldable precious metal out of which we make riches and jewelry. It also makes us think of ranking, and gold is a symbol of perfection or first place. The color green is often a symbol of innocence. It is connected to the color of flower buds before they blossom into their mature colors. When the speaker says that green is gold, it is not dealing literally with the colors, but rather that nature's first innocent, unblossomed bud is precious and perfect, but fragile and fleeting. The metaphor of the first green applies to the human experience as well, because we can think about a time in our lives when we were green or innocent. While this time can apply across our whole lives as we are constantly gaining knowledge and losing innocence, this green time is mostly associated with early childhood. Her hardest hue to hold is an alliteration that shows us that nature cannot hold on to that first green because nothing can freeze time and keep the precious bud in its innocent state forever. Nature is personified in these lines, hinting at the underlying message of this poem. The loss of innocence experienced in nature is part of the human experience as we grow. The light of day has not opened our eyes to the truths of the world, and this time in our lives is golden. Eventually, the sun rises, we bloom and gain wisdom and experience. The loss of innocence is portrayed through nature in Frost's poem. Real quick, everything you see here. First sentence, topic sentence. I will go into detail about all of these on my coming slides. Next, we've got evidence. Then I've got a big old chunk of analysis. Your English teacher would very much like a lot of analysis. They don't want you to rely only on quotes, so you want to make sure you're writing a nice hearty analysis. And at the bottom there, I've got a conclusion sentence. If you weren't able to catch all of these as I read, because maybe you've never learned them before, or you're feeling very out of touch with this structure, I'm going to go into detail and I'll be using this paragraph all the way through. This paragraph structure, like I said, can work as a simple response to a question. If you have an essay question on a test, but you're not really supposed to write a full essay, following this paragraph structure works really well. This could also be done in the context of a larger essay, just like I showed you in the beginning. The structure is super, super dynamic. As you guys are looking at this body paragraph, if I were to color code any other well-written body paragraph, you're going to notice the colors falling in the same place. And that's because body paragraphs have a very specific structure. Young students especially struggle with this because structure is a hard thing when you are young and you're extra creative. And I hate to say it, but this style of writing isn't really meant for the writer to be creative with. Of course, you get creative in the analysis section where you're bringing in creative ideas, but you're not really supposed to get creative with the structure. I know it's kind of a bummer, but there are forms of writing that you would be assigned in English class that you're meant to be creative with, such as poetic writing or creative writing, narrative writing. When you write a body paragraph, you're not really writing for yourself, you are writing for an audience, and you are trying to explain a challenging or complex idea to an audience member. And if you just make up any old structure or you kind of wander around and don't have a nice clear structure, an expected structure, it's going to be hard for your audience member or your reader to understand what you are saying. For the same reason that actually a lot of stories will fit kind of basic plot lines, it's because there's certain elements that an audience expects. And what I'm going to go over with you today are the elements of a body paragraph any reader will expect. And even if a reader isn't consciously expecting this structure, the structure will help any reader better understand the complex idea you would like to prove. The first part of a body paragraph is a topic sentence. Every single one of these parts of a paragraph have a specific location and a specific purpose. A topic sentence's location is the first sentence in a body paragraph. So that is where it always goes. It doesn't go anywhere else. The purpose is that it states what will be discussed or proven in that paragraph. What are you going to focus on in this particular paragraph? My next note ties back to thesis statements. If your body paragraph is in the context of a full essay where you've written an introduction and a thesis statement that goes at the end of your introduction, your topic sentence ties directly back to one of your items to be proven in your thesis. So if you've watched that video, I talk about persuasive reasons, and you would normally list 2 or 3. Your topic sentence would be letting your reader know that you are focusing on reason 1 in this paragraph, or that you are focusing on reason 2 in this paragraph. It's basically a repeat of a section of your thesis in a larger essay. Now, if you are just writing a body paragraph as a response to a question, you're not writing it in the context of a full essay, in a single paragraph response, your topic sentence acts as a thesis statement. It is where you make that important claim that you're going to prove in the paragraph. So I've chopped my paragraph in half so I could zoom in on just the first part of the paragraph. Here you've got the title, and based on location, it should follow that this first sentence here is my topic sentence. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight it, but all I've got is location right now. I need to make sure that it fits its purpose. So the theme of Robert Frost's Nothing Gold Can Stay is that innocence does not last forever. I would say that this is fulfilling the purpose. If my prompting question for this paragraph were, what is the theme of Robert Frost's Nothing Gold Can Stay? I've got a clear message about what that theme is. Innocence does not last forever. Then I have to write the rest of the paragraph to prove it. After I've written a topic sentence, I don't want to jump into analysis. If I offer analysis right after a topic sentence, my reader is going to feel very confused, because I haven't presented any evidence. So here is evidence, and evidence is it encompasses a few items, even though it is only one sentence. So evidence, I talk about its purpose first, an example provided which supports or helps to prove the claim the topic sentence makes. That is its purpose. You need to find a piece of concrete detail that is going to support your topic sentence, and its location is directly after the topic sentence. I was saying that you really don't want to get into your analysis before you've presented some evidence. Some writing styles, or for certain writing teachers, they might be okay with you providing some analysis. With my students, I really don't want you to start analyzing until after, and I will explain why when we have a paragraph in front of us, but its location is directly after the topic sentence. Depending on the subject you're writing for, it can be a quote, which is in history or in language arts. It could be a fact, history or science, a scientific fact, a historical fact, or anything concrete which can be explained or interpreted. Evidence is level 1 information. You can literally put your finger on it. If you haven't seen my levels of questioning video and you don't understand what I mean when I talk about level 1, level 2, level 3, you might want to go take a look at that. It's really a really easy concept, but this is how it applies to writing. For a literary analysis, anytime you are responding to a writing prompt in an English literature class, you want to make sure that you provide a quote, textual evidence. Otherwise, your English teacher is going to get really upset that you're not backing it up with the quote from the book, because the book is your evidence, or the poem, or the story. It must be integrated as part of a sentence. You cannot just drop in quotes without context. Context, this is a vocab word that might be helpful to you guys. Context, words around the quote which help to introduce it. If I just gave my topic sentence and then jumped right into a quote from the poem, my reader's going to feel a little bit jarred out of place, because it's almost like they're being expected to understand that quote as it's being thrown at them. I need to be nice. I need to give a little bit of an introduction about the quote, and that's what context is. In 6th through 10th grade writing, it should be presented as one sentence. In this level of writing, maybe in higher levels, or depending on if you're taking an honors class or something, certain teachers are okay with you using 2 or 3 sentences in order to present a quote. My students, I always have you do it in one sentence. What I have found is that students will fill up their paragraphs with summary in order to present a quote, and then provide very little analysis. But by that point, the paragraph they've written is so long that it looks like they did a lot of work. This is one of the functions of why I don't want you guys writing more than one sentence, is so that you can't try to fool me by writing more than what you need to in a certain spot. For evidence, you really don't want to say more than one sentence. Of course, if you're in college or you're choosing a very large quote for a very large essay, yeah, you might need more than that. But my kids, only one sentence, please. So I've already got my topic sentence labeled here. I want to go ahead and label my evidence. Its location seems to be close after the topic sentence. I can find my evidence in this paragraph because I can see quotes. Quotations signal to my reader that I have chosen words, lifted them up out of the original text, and am using them in my paragraph. And there is my quote: "Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold." But there are some words here between my topic sentence and my quote. This is the context. The first 2 lines of this poem use colors to symbolize the loss of innocence. Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold. The context is helping my reader it primes my reader's brain before he or she is going to read my quote. The other thing that this does is it lets my reader feel ready to actually read the quote. A couple of tips for writing context. I would recommend staying in level 1. When I describe the location of the lines in the poem, the first 2 lines of the poem, that's level 1 information. I do start to get into level 2, using colors to symbolize. Symbolism is a very level 2 idea. And it's okay to provide a little bit of level 2 somewhat analysis as part of your context. Just try not to get too deep into it. Usually location of the quote, if you're writing about a story and you're pulling a quote from a story, what's going on in the scene, who says the quote, who's saying it to whom, etc. You guys might be noticing this parenthetical citation or in-text citation there that says Frost, the author's last name. That is an in-text citation. Depending on the lessons you've learned with your English teacher and the demands of the assignment, you might be asked to include an in-text citation, and this is an MLA format. I teach this to my students pretty much throughout the year. However, if you haven't learned how to do an in-text citation in the way that your teacher wants you to, then I'd say leave it off for now. I'm including it in order to be very exact and very thorough. Now, one thing that might cause people to question, they might see, sorry, that's my overall presentation of evidence, they might see green is gold down here in quotes, and is that evidence there? Is that presenting new evidence? Well, what I can also see is green is gold. It seems to be repeating something from my quote back here. So when I get into analysis, I'll talk a little bit more about this. I'm just in the middle of my analysis referring back to the quote and the details. So this is not a new presentation of evidence, so you don't have to worry about that. This is a good spot to take a break. If you please, if you're good to keep going, I just want to warn you that the analysis section is pretty in-depth, and it's a good couple of minutes long. So if you want to take a break or continue tomorrow, this is a good spot to pause your video and go do that. Onward to analysis. This is the most important part of your body paragraph. It is the part of your paragraph, the topic sentence and the evidence are like the bones, the skeleton of your paragraph. The analysis is the muscle. This is the part where your reader really needs to see that you understand. This is also the part of your paragraph that your teacher can't tell you exactly what to put there. This is where you show the inner workings of your brain, how well you understand what your task is, and how well you understand the material the task is about. So analysis is the writer's explanation of how the evidence supports the claim. And I don't do location or purpose here because all of this is the analysis purpose. And the location is basically everywhere between evidence and your next evidence or evidence and concluding sentence. Analyses, in case you need to know how to pluralize it, is level 2. It must always explain the evidence to the reader. What does the evidence mean that the author is not explaining? Help your reader to see between the lines. What's going on that's not immediately obvious to the reader? So you want to make sure to hit level 2. If you haven't seen my levels of questioning video, again, you'll want to watch that to understand the very simple concept I'm talking about. Level 2 is reading between the lines. Your analysis should always tie the evidence back to the topic sentence, and if you are doing this in the context of a giant essay, a thesis statement. And you do this by reusing keywords or even repeating a particularly strategic word. In my paragraph, it's going to be the word innocence. That is how you're constantly tying it back and keeping it focused, even if you kind of have to expand your explanation to topics that might seem a little off until you bring it back. Analysis can also be level 3, and I ask this of all my students. It might depend on the writing situation and the teacher. This is connecting the idea to the larger world. I think it always makes, especially in literature, because literature is a form of art that reminds us about the human experience. That's kind of the whole point of reading literature. And if you are connecting what you see in the literature out into the world beyond, and you bring that into your analysis, it really gives your analysis a lot of strength. However, most English teachers are really interested in your level 2, what's going on between the lines, and you should not rely on the level 3 too much. until you've got a really strong level 2. And it's going to be one of the critiques of my analysis that you're going to see. So let's first find the analysis in this paragraph. I've got my topic sentence, I've got my presentation of evidence. Everything after that is analysis, almost. My analysis does go beyond this section. That's why I've got an arrow down there. My analysis is longer. And if you are a regular middle school language arts student, if this is the proportions of your topic sentence evidence to analysis ratio, a good rule of thumb is analysis should be about 3 times as long as the presentation of evidence. If your presentation of evidence is 2 lines, you'll want your analysis to be about 6 lines. That's how you know you've got it to a good length. It's not a blanket rule. You should write more if you think more belongs. However, if there is less than that, you might want to make sure that if it is less than that, that you're really saying what's there and that your reader gets it. Because you might be able to say it real quick, but sometimes when you say it too quickly, it goes right over your reader's head, and you don't want to do that. Okay? Evidence is level 1. This is my quote from the poem. I could literally go back to the poem and put my finger on it. Your analysis must address level 2 and 3. This is where I show you all my secrets to writing. I often use this analogy. Some of the best tomato sauces that you will find on pizza or in pasta have a secret ingredient that most people don't like to think about. Anchovies, those teeny little jarred fish. But they've got this really particularly salty, creamy, almondy flavor that adds a layer to the tomato sauce. Now, why am I talking about secret ingredients? It's because I'm about to show you where the anchovies are in my paragraph and show you kind of the secret ingredient. And it's in the levels of questioning. I'm going to go sentence by sentence, so hang tight. Brace yourself. If you really want to do well and get good grades in your English classes, you'll want to pay as close attention as you can. Sentence by sentence, let's talk about it. So my evidence was, nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold. Gold is the title color of the poem, and when we think about gold, we think about the fragile, moldable, precious metal out of which we make riches and jewelry. In this sentence, I'm not really talking about the lines of the poem. However, I am talking about something significant in the poem. I'm exploring the meaning of the color gold and what it might mean in literature or in the world beyond the poem. And doing that's going to help us understand the world of the poem. So if I'm talking about the world beyond the poem, this is a level 3 sentence. Another clue about that is I'm using we. Next sentence. It also makes us think of ranking, and gold is a symbol of perfection and first place. Again, not really discussing the lines of the sentence. I'm still exploring that meaning of the color gold and that outside world meaning of the color gold is a level 3. And here's the thing, I might be jumping a little into level 3 a little too early for the taste of some English teachers, but I think that this particular poem lends itself to that. Another clue that this could be a level 3 sentence is if I could start it with in general. If I started right here, in general, it also makes us think of ranking. It's probably level 3. Not always, not a blanket rule, but it's a way to measure. The color green is often a symbol of innocence. It is connected to the color of flower buds before they blossom into their mature colors. I would definitely fix this and add a conjunction or something there. Sorry if anybody's watching, notice my mistake. This is the first draft of a paragraph. It's not perfect. So this particular sentence is doing the same thing that I did with the color gold, and I'm exploring the color green. And while the color green has a lot of meanings, and if I do a leitmotif video on the color green, you're going to find that it means all kinds of things, money, greed, jealousy, but one of the things it really often means is innocence, and I picked that because I think it goes with this poem. And while I'm starting to hint at what's in the poem about flower buds and blossoming and nature, I'm still in level 3 when I'm discussing the general meaning of green. When the speaker says that, quote, green is gold, it is not dealing literally with the colors, but rather that nature's first, innocent, unblossomed bud is precious and perfect, but fragile and fleeting. clues that this is actually a level 2 sentence. So I'm going back to the poem. I use words such as when the speaker says. I'm going back to the speaker of the poem, and I'm pulling an actual detail from the poem by quoting a small section, a small detail, and then discussing with my reader what that actually means. And so this is a level 2. I'm going back in between the lines of the poem. The metaphor of the first green applies to the human experience as well, because we can think about a time in our lives when we are green or innocent. Use of we, human experience, this is a level 3 sentence. While this time can apply across our whole lives as we are constantly gaining knowledge and losing innocence, this green time is mostly associated with early childhood. This is a level 3. And I'm still kind of out in the world talking about how that is going to connect back to the poem. Here I am going back to the poem, pulling on another detail. If I present a quote, I want to make sure I'm discussing the details. Another anchovy. One way to strengthen your analysis is to actually pull small sections of the quote to talk about, especially if they are particularly meaningful. Her hardest hue to hold is an alliteration that shows us that nature cannot hold on to that first green because nothing can freeze time and keep the precious bud in its innocent state forever. This is level 2, indicated by pulling direct details from the quote and talking about that nature that's in the first part of the quote and providing what this line actually means. It's an English to English translation, taking kind of artistically, something that's said artistically and translating it into an explanation of what that means. Nature is personified in these lines, hinting at the underlying message of this poem. The loss of innocence experienced in nature is part of the human experience as we grow. This particular sentence is interesting because I actually hit both levels in the sentence. The first part of the sentence, nature is personified, is level 2. I'm pointing out personification or figurative language in the line and discussing the function, what the meaning is that the author personified nature. This is level 2. But then I lead it out to this idea of the loss of innocence experienced in nature is I would change this to akin to the human experience as we grow. That's a level 3 thought. Pro status, hitting both level 2 and 3 in one sentence. You are absolutely allowed to do this. The light of day has not opened our eyes to the truths of the world, and this time in our lives is golden. Eventually the sun rises, we bloom, and gain wisdom and experience. This is all level 3. I'm talking about us, outside of the poem, and how the poem is kind of reflecting what goes on in the life of a human. Let me tell you how I arrived here. I did not think to myself, okay, the next sentence is going to be level 3, the next sentence is going to be level 2. I did this kind of naturally. I went off of my brainstorm and kind of tried to focus in on these 2 lines and get all of the ideas I could, and then wrote them out. I felt like I had a really good understanding of the poem when I wrote this, and so it kind of flowed naturally. What I did later, after I put everything down and did a little bit of revising, I went back for you guys to check and see, did I hit level 3, did I hit level 2? And I did that. I hit both levels pretty well. My one critique of this is typically, especially when we're talking about stories, you want to talk about level 2 a lot more. Your level 2 should usually outweigh your level 3 when you are writing about literature. But the thing is, this particular poem, it's hard to discuss level 2 without level 3, and that's why it's pretty level 3 outside world heavy. If you are struggling to write an analysis, the first step is to truly understand the evidence. A lot of the reason why we experience writer's block or our teachers say this analysis isn't enough is maybe you don't have a super in-depth understanding of the evidence and you want to go back and really brainstorm around that evidence and annotate it, draw pictures, etc. And then once your understanding is much deeper, you'll be able to provide a level 2 and a level 3 analysis. And depending on the writing task, like what I do with my students, I will provide some structure or ask some particular questions to help them form their level 2 and their level 3. At that point, it kind of becomes dependent on the writing prompt. Woo, that was a lot. Analysis is pretty heavy. So if you are looking for a good spot to take a break, this is it. And when we get back, we will take on the last leg of our body paragraphs video. Chunks. So I'm only teaching you guys this word because some English teachers use it in their classes. I use it. I think it comes from the Jane Schaefer method. I'm not entirely sure. I've just seen it used and I find it to be a handy word, and so here it is. It is an evidence and analysis pairing. So when I say chunk, if your English teacher were to say write a one chunk paragraph, it means that he or she wants a paragraph that has one evidence and one nice full analysis. Two are needed for a formal body paragraph. That's usually the rule. It depends, and that's why it's helpful to understand the word chunk. It means that it lets you know how many quotes and analyses of that quote you should include in your paragraph. So if your teacher were to say write a two-chunk paragraph, just like what we've got here, this is what, if you were to highlight and color code your paragraph, this is what it would look like. If your teacher doesn't offer any direction, they don't say how many quotes they want in each paragraph, 2 is a safe number. If you're in the upper grades, it won't seem too short. And if you're in the lower grades, it won't seem too long. I have assigned certain assignments where I've only wanted 1 quote, 2, and there's a rare assignment where I ask for 3. It just depends. And if you're not sure, you can always ask your teacher. Concluding sentence. So conclusions can be kind of high stakes because you know it's the last impression you get to make on your reader. And a concluding sentence can carry that kind of weight if you are doing just a single paragraph response. But just like everything else, it's got a location. It is the last sentence of a body paragraph. Its purpose is to clearly end the paragraph for the reader. One technique is mirroring the topic sentence. That's a simple way to conclude, and if you're still feeling pretty beginner at writing or writing the rest of the paragraph is rather treacherous, just do this. This is my advice to any writer who is struggling with writing a concluding sentence. Now, I'm going to offer some notes based on where in the essay it might be. If it is a single paragraph response, I recommend just mirroring the topic sentence. It's almost like restating a thesis, and you're pretty safe with doing that. Now, if you're writing a longer essay, and this is the last body paragraph of the essay, it should work to conclude that paragraph and then get your reader ready, kind of gear their mind toward a conclusion paragraph and an overall conclusion, and keep in mind you're not transitioning that reader elsewhere. Now, if it's between body paragraphs, say you've got a 5-paragraph essay and you are between body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2, it should work to conclude that body paragraph's arguments, the body paragraph that concluding sentence belongs to, and then maybe, if you're kind of a little more advanced, try to start to transition the reader into the next paragraph by maybe showing how the two ideas might be connected. A writing tip, this is a style tip, is avoid saying in conclusion, all in all, or in a nutshell. These are very cliche concluding words. Some of them are a little bit overly casual for a formal essay. And now here's the thing, in your drafting process, if you feel like you need to start your concluding sentence, you need to write the words all in all. In order to get your concluding sentence written, go ahead. Make sure that you edit it out later though. Take out the in conclusion, take out the all in all. It helps you get that sentence started, but once that sentence is there and it's good, take out all in all and make sure that it can still stand as a concluding sentence without the in a nutshell. That one's probably my least favorite. All right, concluding sentence is always the easiest to label because it's always the last to be labeled and it is there at the bottom. So there is my concluding sentence. for my whole paragraph. The loss of innocence is portrayed through nature in Frost's poem. So this is the simple mirroring a topic sentence version. I've actually written 2 concluding sentences back to back. If you're a more advanced writer or you're an older writer, I have had some of my former students come back and say that their English teacher doesn't want a concluding sentence. What that English teacher means is they don't want this simplistic, easy, kind of repetitive and rote concluding sentence. They want something more advanced. And that makes sense for more advanced grade levels such as 10th and 11th graders. So this concluding sentence, the sentence right before my easy concluding sentence, is an advanced concluding sentence. Eventually the sun rises, we bloom and gain wisdom and experience. Maybe it's not the best concluding sentence, but it is more advanced than the loss of innocence is portrayed through nature in Frost's poem. I'm going to show you a technique. It's a concluding sentence check. One way to check your concluding sentence, when I'm finalizing a concluding sentence, I like to do what I call a topic sentence test. And it's when I read my topic sentence and immediately after I read my concluding sentence to see if they go together. So my topic sentence, the theme of Robert Frost's Nothing Gold Can Stay is that innocence does not last forever. My simple version of concluding sentence, the loss of innocence is portrayed through nature in Frost's poem. It sounds good. Sounds like it does sound a little repetitive. It sounds almost like I'm saying the same thing right after I just said it, but it stands up and it does remind my reader of the overall purpose of my paragraph. Let's see if my advanced version stands up to it. I actually haven't done this topic sentence test yet. So, the theme of Robert Frost's Nothing Gold Can Stay is that innocence does not last forever. Eventually, the sun rises, we bloom and gain wisdom and experience. Oh wow, that actually does flow really well. Jedi status, pro status. I'm actually kind of proud of that because I hadn't checked that before. And so this is how to end on in an advanced way, is to see if your concluding sentence kind of flows away from your topic sentence but still continues that same topic, but kind of lets your reader go. Okay, so now you're wondering, you've been seeing these colors and you might be wondering why these colors. I call it a stoplight paragraph because these colors remind me of a stoplight. So green is a symbol for go, and when you write a topic sentence, it's like you're saying, here's my paragraph, go. Yellow for evidence, because when you see a yellow light, you're supposed to slow down. I know in certain situations it might be a little safer to speed up and beat the light, but usually yellow means slow down. It's a warning that the red light is coming. And for your evidence, you are starting to slow down your reader at a particular intersection of your essay so that they could really focus in on some evidence. And red, or pink, which is a reddish color, means stop. You are stopped on that evidence. You're not wandering around. You're not trying to turn right. You're not trying to go left. You are stopped at that intersection in your essay, and you are going to focus on it. Green for concluding sentence. We don't have red for concluding sentence. It would make sense because concluding sentence is where you stop, but actually we have green here again because green means go, and concluding sentence means either go to the next paragraph in my essay, or if this is a single paragraph response, just go to the next paragraph and read the next paragraph on the next piece of paper written by somebody else. So that is why I call it a stoplight paragraph, and I really hope that this helps you guys. So, did you actually watch the whole thing, or did you just skip ahead so that you could see footage of Holden? Either way, I'm proud of you. And hopefully you actually did watch the whole thing and you earned this ending footage. Because if you have, then now you've got a whole base of knowledge on body paragraph writing that you could move forward with. I will be referencing this video in the next video I'm doing, which is going to focus in on persuasive writing. I like to do and front load information about how to write a body paragraph with literature because that is the most approachable way to do it. And then I like to translate it into how to use it for nonfiction nonfiction writing, for persuasive writing, which is the style you would use it for in every other subject. And that's coming. I know that my 7th and 8th graders who are currently working on persuasive stuff are probably saying, please make a video that applies to persuasive writing. So I've got that in the works, guys. Before I sign off and welcome you to my future videos, I do want to say thank you so much to all essential workers that are out there and doing their jobs so that we can be safe. And in particular today, I'd really like to thank our school's custodial crew who are up on the mountain right now disinfecting and preparing our schools so that it is a safe place to return to when we get back. They do that for us all the time, every day, but in particular right now in this challenging time, they've got a lot of extra stuff to do. So make sure that you guys send your thanks in some way to our school's custodial crew. All right, guys, until the next time, bye.